This episode is sponsored by the Cornell S.E. Johnson College of Business. The Cornell Executive MBA Americas program is designed for goal achievers from any industry. The program works by advancing your career without interruption, by providing global perspectives and intimate classroom settings, and by challenging, informing, connecting, and propelling you. Achieve your goals with the Cornell Executive MBA Americas program on the weekend and close to home. Search Cornell EMBA Americas in my city today.
Welcome to the Ellevate podcast, conversations with women changing the face of business.
Hi, everybody. Welcome back to the Ellevate podcast, History Makers. We have such a fun one for you today. Today, I am talking to Andrea Moller. She's a history maker in like a million different ways. She has a Guinness World Record. She's a surfer. So we get to talk about surfing. We talk a little bit about, the Olympics and its impact on surfing, which of course, I geeked out about because I love the Olympics. Specifically, she is a history maker for being the first woman to ride a wave in the Eddy, which is a longstanding surfing competition that has just now allowed women. We talk about the different barriers women face in surfing and, the ones that she's experienced throughout her career. It's such a good interview, and I think you're all going to really enjoy it. So let's get to it now. I am so excited. I'm here with Andrea Moller. Hi, Andrea.
Hi. Thanks for having me.
It is our pleasure. I'm so excited to have you on. So in general, I want to start out by asking, kind of the big question, which is, you're a surfer. How did you get into surfing, and how did you get to be, where you are now on the surfing world stage?
Well, I think I was lucky enough to have a childhood close to the ocean. My dad is a waterman, and from the very beginning, he exposed me to, all kinds of ocean conditions and boats and sailing. And I was a windsurfer actually originally, and had that dream of moving to Hawaii one day. And when that dream came true, I started surfing, because you can't live in Hawaii without surfing. And I fell in love with it. And I kind of come from the background that if you work hard and you really, do what you love, it ends up being a successful thing, I guess. Just, working hard and focusing on improving every day.
Absolutely. Yeah. So I think the surfing world is one that is very, very cool to a lot of people, but a lot of people don't really know much about it. What advice would you have for somebody who, even if they didn't want to get into professional surfing, they just wanted to pick up a surfboard? What would your advice be for starting out?
Well, the main thing, first of all, is just never give up. You are going to have days that you're going to get out there and have a blast and great, and you feel good, and that's what surfing is all about. But you're also going to have days that you're going to wipe out or get pounded on the surf, or you don't feel like you're getting any better, and or it's cold or it's windy, and you start having those reasons to not go out. So the main thing I would say is, every day out there is a day that you're going to move forward, is a day that you're going to learn something, even if it's not perfect. So for anybody that wants to, make a career out of surfing, I would say, go out as much as possible, invest on your equipment, invest on your health, and really see the positives. For me, surfing was also a therapy thing, a place where I, in the ocean, it's almost like I call it my church. It's a place that my brain kind of started seeing the positives of life. And so it's a lifestyle, it's not just catching the wave and becoming a pro surfer, but it's choosing the lifestyle and focusing and investing in it.
Yeah. So I want to go back to, again, you were first mentioned on the podcast when you were the first woman to ride a wave in the Aikai Invitational. What was that like being, the first woman to step up into that role?
Well, the Aikai invitation was probably one of the biggest highlights of my life. um, first of all, to be invited. I feel, especially later in life, right? Like by the time I got to compete in the Eddie, I'm like 40 years old. And it feels like you wait your entire life for that opportunity to compete. And as you know, I'm not sure if many people know, but a lot of time, for many years, it was man only. And even this year, we competed against the man. But just the fact that they started opening for women, which I think it's something that we broke a barrier, and to be one of the athletes that got invited, not just for your surfing, but for, at least for me, I think it was my whole career as a paddler, as a ocean rescuer, as big wave surfing. Just I feel like it was the final recognition of all these years, all this time that I put in, my passion for surfing. So ultimately, the Eddie Aikau was, it was like, here you go, you deserve, you're part of this crew. You're gonna be among the best big wave surfers in the world. So that itself, just to be invited, was huge. And as far as being the first one to catch a wave, it was, again, another surprise gift. I was on the first heat, and the ocean was the biggest Waimea I've ever seen. I've ever been out. It was hard to look in the ocean and have that desire to go, but also have that fear and have that question in your head of like, what are we gonna do here? The short break was life threatening, and but yeah, the goal was to get out there and catch a wave and compete with a man and be part of that amazing historic event. And yeah, caught a wave, and next thing you see, you're like, you make history. And I think that's mainly from kind of following my heart, doing things for the right reasons, and you end up in the right place.
Absolutely. I That's actually something that's come up a few times when I've talked to history makers is they didn't set out to make history. They just set out to do what they love, and they ended up making history almost by accident.
Absolutely. It is about, um, I don't know. I truly think that success comes from you doing something that it's within you. I, I mean, maybe some successful people have this whole plan out and they work hard at it and they get it. But for me, it was, when I do something that feels good and I enjoy, and I work hard at it. That's kind of how I end up being more successful, is just basically doing what I believe it's good.
Absolutely. One thing that might be interesting to people is you do a lot of different sports. You do canoe, paddling, surfing. What is it about each of those sports that really stands out to you and that makes you, really want to engage? And also, just how do you find the time to do all of them?
Yeah. So, for those who don't know me, I usually have a hard time saying things that I do, or don't ever want to sound like bragging. But I'll explain, to people that don't know. So I moved to Hawaii as a windsurfer and always wanted to compete windsurfing. And then you get here, and there are days that you don't have wind, so you gotta. I just don't know how to sit still. So there's surf, so I had to learn how to surf. And once I learned, fell in love with it, and I always wanted to be get better and improve. So I did a lot of surfing and got to surf the Eddie Aikau or get the Guinness World Record, and things kind of came with a surfing career. But parallel to that, in Hawaii, um, a lot of uh, outrigger canoes is a sport, or paddling outrigger canoe is a sport kind of where you absorb the culture in Hawaii, where you create friends and family. It was my way, as a somebody that comes from Brazil into the Hawaiian culture. Is my way of a little bit of giving back to the community and learning the Hawaiian culture. And there you go. So that was another sport, which is paddling, which kind of took a whole part of my life. I still do that. So I focused on crossing the channel from Molokai to Oahu, which is a competition that happens either on one man or stand up paddling or 6 man outrigger canoe. So I cross the channel about 3 times a year. So I've done the Molokai to Oahu channel, I think 45 times now, won 22 titles doing that. And again, not something that I'm like, I want to do it and I want to win. And I am competitive, but it's more of that passion of being out in the ocean, not able to sit still, seeking adrenaline, and just being part of the community in that way. So during the summer, I focus on paddling and doing wind sports, either downwind foiling or crossing the channel. And then during the winter, I focus on big wave surfing and, put the paddle aside and just kind of really enjoy surfing, pure surfing. Oh, and I work full time.
I was going to say, I was going to bring that up. You are also, in addition to being a professional surfer, you're also a professional paramedic. How do you balance that?
Yeah. So I do work full time in the ambulance. I am a paramedic. And I, yeah, I mean, that's again, it's a job that is a little bit of an adrenaline seeking career. It's a job that requires 100% of my brain and my heart to be able to rescue people and save lives, and also deal with lives that we can't save. And I think that that's a big part of me getting out in the ocean. It's hard for me to come home and have to go to the grieving process and just not, moving and exercising and being in the ocean is probably the best medicine I could find to help me cope with some things at work.
Absolutely. Yeah, I can't imagine what that's like, but you did say earlier it's very therapeutic for you. So I guess that makes sense.
Yeah, it's finding balance, and in order to find balance, you have to know what is good for you, and you have to be doing it for the reasons that, anytime I found myself doing something either for money or for media or for photo shoots, like, it didn't work for me. My my whole mission is kind of doing something that you benefit the community in some ways. You help others either by inspiring them, or you do something that makes you feel happier, and when you feel happier you can actually help people. So I kind of live on this circle of what is it that it does good to me and to others. And I feel like the combination of thematic work and surfing, and even if it's not me competing, but if it's me helping younger girls or motivating others, then I feel like it's a successful thing at the end.
Absolutely. So I want to go back to something you said earlier. You mentioned being a Guinness World Record holder, which you are, for the women's biggest paddle in wave. I wanted to ask, how did that work? I mean, did you have to call them? Did they call you? How did it get all set up with, getting verified by Guinness as this record holder?
Yeah, it was just like being the first one at the Eddie Aikau. Honestly, I was not expecting that. Didn't make the phone call. What happened was they had the Guinness World Record for men, and they never really, the whole equality for women to be recognized, or to be able to compete. It's still a battle that we're fighting and slowly achieving. So eventually, they they decided we need to choose, we need to look for the biggest wave surfed by a woman. And I believe the award came in 2019. So they reached out to all the women surfing, and they're like, we're looking for your biggest wave. And they went through all the surfers, and we sent our waves. I remember I was invited for the awards. I was nominated, and I was happy about it. I almost didn't go to the awards because it fell on my work schedule. It is hard to get off work when you're in the ambulance duty. But somehow I managed to go. I went to California, and we went to the awards, and Paige Alms, Scala Canley, Bianca Valenti were all there together. And it was we all had sent waves. And when time came and they called my name and measured the waves, and I was like, I can't believe I hold the record. It was it was a surprise, and to this day I'm still in awe that I still hold the Guinness record. Pretty cool. I'm honored, I'm humble, and just kind of, again, I did it because I surfed that day, and it was a huge day and I couldn't sit still. I had to paddle out.
Yeah. So they didn't even tell you until it was at the award ceremony who would set the award
No,
or would set the record.
no. Usually they'll choose, let's say, the top um 6 or 7 or 8, or some, there's like a couple girls nominated, maybe up to 10, and you are one of 10, and you go to the awards. And sometimes you kind of have an idea that, because there are waves as well, right? We all kind of surf together, and you are able to see the waves. They're up for the award, but I wasn't expecting it. And you have hopes and you believe you can win, and I did. I actually planned a little bit of a speech, and I remember my husband like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "I'm kind of writing a speech." And he's like, "Don't keep your hopes up." And I'm like, "No, I don't know, just get ready." And I'm glad I got ready. It was
Definitely. You don't want to be one of those that's like, I didn't prepare a speech.
yeah. And I think the main thing I wanted to say that day was, just so grateful that they are including the women. It is time to have a category for women. To be, um, I feel like I just from that day on, and WSL having equal pay for women and men, you can see the level of surfing growing, because now you can see, the women can see that they can invest on the sport. They can make surfing a career just like the man had a career. So it's kind of, that was my main thing. I wanted to make sure that message got out. It wasn't just, I didn't feel like I won that trophy. I feel like all the women won something that day.
You've had a pretty long career, and it had a pretty long career by the time you won the award. And you've said it's been a long time coming with gaining equality in the sport. Have there been any other times that you've experienced a lot of differences between how men and women are treated in the sport?
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like my entire life it was, we were surfing jaws, and they would have a contest, and I'd be like, can we go in? And they're like, no, we already, it's invitational only, and you're not invited because you are a girl. There was many times that they were afraid that we would get hurt, and we're like, well, we're training triple the amount that you guys are training. We're doing breath holding courses because we gotta come up to the level of safety and talent. But a lot of times you're not invited, or, oh, we invite one girl to compete against 40 men. It was kind of what happened at the Eddie. But we never complained. I was like, okay, invite one girl at a time. And then I feel like it was when more girls started having the same mission. Paige Alms, Calla Canley, and Bianca. We kind of got together, and it's like, instead of competing and being the sole winner, how about we we fight for this together? So we almost like, no, I'm not gonna come to a competition unless there's a whole division. Or let's not allow them to, not allow them, but maybe bring up to the attention to others. People don't even realize that, right? So you go to the county and tell them, like, do you realize you're giving a permit to an event that literally doesn't allow women? So slowly and together we achieve the goal of opening the doors to women to compete and to prove that they can. For me, it ended up coming later in my life, right? Like the Guinness Awards, I was turning 40 years old. So I I don't know how long more I'll be chasing it, but I am sure really happy and grateful that the generation coming right behind me will have the opportunity that I didn't have, and I will kind of be happy that I made that history, and we together made a change for them.
Yes, bringing on for the future generations. So I only have two more questions for you. I could talk with you all day, but but we're running low on time. So one of the questions I want to ask, I am a huge Olympics fan, like just of the Olympics in general, and surfing recently became an Olympic sport. So I was wondering, have you seen any spark or spike in interest since it became an Olympic sport? People paying more attention to it?
Oh yes, for sure. That's a huge achievement right there, right? Becoming an Olympic sport, and another huge opportunity for athletes to have something to train for. Now it's even easier, right? Before it couldn't really be sponsored and go Olympics, right? It was a little there was a little bit of a tricky to that, but I feel like it's a huge change in the sport. The fact that it's an Olympian sport now, and yes,
Yeah,
it's televised, right? The public is watching. Um, that all make a difference, right? Back in the day or 15 years ago, you couldn't see surf on the TV ever. Not many people even knew things about surfing, scoring, or what's all about. And I feel like becoming an Olympian sport, it changed the sport, and it will help change the level and improve and get better. Can only get better from here.
absolutely. And thank goodness, I a little Olympic fact for you. The thank goodness they put, of course, both men's and women's surfing in. There were I think it was ski jumping in the winter games that men's had been in it since like the 1900s, and they didn't add women's until 2014.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So at least from where they started on an even ground.
Yeah. Exactly. It's cool to be able to witness this change. And you might have one time, hopefully we're gonna have a time that this whole thing is way in the past. Can you believe they didn't allow women to compete surfing? Right? So we've been witnessing this whole thing and being a part of that. Um, it's kind of interesting to see it.
Yeah. It's amazing to see from the side. I get excited whenever there's new Olympic sports, and my dad's always loved whenever the few times surfing would come on TV, he always got really excited. So as soon as they said it was going to be Olympic sport, he's like, "I'm watching."
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, my very last question for you is the same question I asked to all of our history makers, which is that, obviously, just like you're inspiring people, I want to know who's a history maker who inspired you.
Oh man, there's so many from so many different sports, Kala Kennelly was definitely somebody that I watched as young. We're the same age, but she was a pro way, way, way when I was still learning how to surf. And just seeing her goes to the struggles, seeing her level of surfing and catching barrels and still yet having a hard time to grow and to get sponsors. And um, so she was somebody that I actually named my daughter Keala because I admired Kala Kennelly in ways like that. So she's one of them. They're paddlers. Maybe they're not famous and big names, but there like Sharon Balidoy is a Hawaiian paddler that actually runs a canoe club, and just seeing her demeanor and her motives and how she creates positive changes. Those people motivate me in a way of doing it for do it for the right reasons, and you benefit. Your success will come naturally.
Absolutely. And, I don't, we definitely on this podcast, we don't care if they're famous or not. History makers are history makers. And so I'm glad you mentioned, all, all, all the ones that inspire you, or at least some of them.
Yeah. Yeah,
Well, thank you.
it's
Yeah.
it's
Oh,
it's important. Those history makers are the ones that actually open the door for generations to come and to make that big change.
absolutely. Well, I want to thank you so much for joining us today. This has been so cool, so fun, and best of luck to you in the future. I know you mentioned that you don't know how much longer you're going to be doing it, but I definitely see big things ahead.
Oh yeah, I'll keep some people are like, so you're not gonna compete WSL, and I'll be, I'm like, that doesn't mean I'm not surfing,
Yeah.
or that doesn't mean I'm stopping. It just means one day at a time, focus on you and on helping others, and things will so come around. So I may not be competing in the lineup, but we'll keep on making history for sure.
Yeah. Keep making history. Well, thank you so much for coming on today.
Thank you, Megan, so much. I appreciate the opportunity, and thanks for listening.
Ellevate Network drives real results for ambitious women trying to break through the glass ceiling and achieve success in their careers. We offer a platform full of resources and opportunities for growth, all designed to help you unlock your potential. With Ellevate support, you can take the first step toward achieving your professional goals. With a supportive community and tangible resources at your fingertips, you're only one step away from reaching your fullest potential. Join us today and take advantage of our 30-day free trial to start building the career of your dreams. Thanks so much for listening to the Ellevate podcast. If you like what you hear, you can subscribe, give us 5 stars, and share your review. You can learn all about Ellevate membership and all the great things that Ellevate Network is doing at our website, www.ellevatenetwork.com. That's ELLEVATE network.com. And special thanks to our producer, Catherine Heller. She rocks. Thanks so much, and join us next week.